Hello and good evening to you all. I don't know if anyone is there or anyone is actually willingly listening, so I will talk a little randomly for the moment. But I thought I would come live a little earlier tonight to talk about the matter of Michelle Mone and other matters also. So Paulie is already here. So hello to Paulie. Welcome, Paulie. And Bernadette and Doreen. See, people do come in quickly. Lynn and Melissa and Geraldine and Karen and Heidi and A Nana Mouse. Christina and Nicole, CJ, Rue. So there we are. We do have a number of people here. Nicola Moffat and Garden Room and So thank you very much for paying attention. Now, I have just watched the dreadful Bag of Bilge documentary alongside Finn, and the lovely Finn is here. And Finn says hello and good evening to you.
Hello, everybody.
He says hello. He's not going to make too much noise this evening. He's going to sit quietly and drink his tea. We have had some wine, but he's having a cup of tea. But what I will say is that this whole program, which I decided to watch, is an absolute sham. It is disgraceful. And this evening, the Guardian newspaper has done a bit of an expose on it. David Conn and Russell Scott for The Guardian have written an article which I shall share with you called Revealed. And in Revealed, they reveal the journalist behind Michelle Mone film also worked as a private investigator on her behalf. Mark Williams Thomas worked on behalf of Mone, her husband, and PPA MedPro to try and help identify a suspected leaker. So for two consecutive Sundays, the PPE scandal involving the Conservative peer Michelle Mone has made waves. First came the release of a YouTube documentary on the 10th of December about Mone, her husband, Douglas Barrowman, Doug, as he calls himself, and PPE MedPro, a company that helped to win more than £200 million in government contracts. Then came the BBC's heavily promoted interview with the couple with, obviously, Laura Kuenssberg, in which Mone admitted lying repeatedly to the public over her involvement in PPE MedPro and conceded that she and her family were beneficiaries of an offshore trust that received a portion of its profits, i.e. £60 million. There we go. This woman has crossed the line. She has gone too far. And this person is, according to The Guardian, a battle that has been aided by Mark Williams Thomas. And as you know, I had to spend time standing next to Mark Williams Thomas at the crime conference. Mr. Williams Thomas has had a varied career. He is somebody who was very involved in the McCann case. He is somebody, meanwhile, Finn is making slurping noises. I do apologize. Finn, no slurping noises. He came to prominence because of his involvement in the Jimmy Savile story. Now, he was saluted for his role in that. He was very involved with the McCann story. He is an ex-police officer. He was a detective and family liaison officer with Surrey Police. This man has then decided that he wants to become some kind of TV star. He was advising various television crime dramas, including Waking the Dead, The Inspector Linley Mysteries, Murder Prevention, Identity, and The Silence. On the Run. that was something he presented himself. So he did create a thing called The Other Side of Jimmy Savile, and he has been very, very involved recently with, since December this year, he has become intrinsically linked to Baroness Mone. Now, Baroness Mone, the Mona, as I call her, does not come out well from her association with this. Two experts who appeared in the documentary made by this woman claimed they were duped by Williams Thomas into appearing in the documentary. They added, at no point was it mentioned by the production team that they were receiving funding from PPE MedPro, which is Baroness Mone and her husband's company, though she will say it's her husband's company, of course, or any other PPE supplier, let alone would they be using my interview in a documentary that also gave a platform to Baroness Mone. Williams Thomas has defended the documentary, stating he has been totally upfront about who funded the program. Now, why, if he is a program maker, did he not make an independent program? Why did he feel the need and to make a program to support somebody without declaring that he was supporting that person? That's like me saying, I support the Conservative Party, but making a program and saying, well, I might support the Liberal Democrats. That is utterly laughable. It's cuckoo. The guy is playing every side of the room, and he's not going to get every side of the violin playing in support of him, because that is not the way that journalism works. Independent journalism is independent. He was paid by the person concerned in this matter to make a program, and he cannot surely deny that this person, Michelle Mone, would surely want her side of the story portrayed in a good light to help herself. Why else would she pay to have such a program made? This is illogical if you don't believe this. You are off your merry bucking rocker if you don't believe it. This lady did not pay for an impartial program to be made. Now, she denies that she's done anything wrong, and it is her right to deny if she's done anything wrong. She is entitled until the cows come home to say she did nothing wrong until she's convicted of doing anything wrong. So that is fair enough. But this man, Williams Thomas, he hasn't been transparent with you, the public. Rather like she hasn't been transparent. I was in the Magnet today, and one of the customers, a nice lady who drinks Prosecco and goes there most days, and she said to me, this woman should be in prison. She has lied to me, the taxpayer. She has conned the taxpayer. It is not about conning just the media. She lied. She admits she lied to the media. And as I said to you yesterday, Piers Pottinger, a wonderful PR guru, was asked, what would you advise her to do? He said, I could not advise her to do anything because she has admitted to being a liar. And once you admit to being a liar, no one will ever believe you again. She is the boy that cried wolf. Michelle Mone is a disgraceful, lying piece of toe rag. She is an appalling blonde bimbo who really thought that she could outwit the nation. Now, we didn't touch on it yesterday, but, one of our viewers, who was a rather connected lady in the world of the media, referenced to me another incident involving Lady Mone, where she also behaved badly. I shall bring this up now, and I have mentioned it to Carol Vorderman, who was insulted by um, Lady Mone, Baroness Mone, in the programme that I just watched. I was very surprised that they decided to have a pop at Carol Vorderman. Now, I don't know Carol Vorderman personally. I have no knowledge of her. She's not a friend of mine. She's not someone I've ever met. But Carol Vorderman has been especially vocal against her former friend, Baroness Mone. And honestly, I have to say, the cards are not looking good for you, Michelle Mone. You come from the Isle of Man, a rainy place for shady people, and that's where you belong. You are someone who has no element of decency or respect for moral codes of conduct. You are somebody who has gone on the Laura Kuenssberg show and said, I lied. Do you really think that any of us will ever take you seriously ever again? You make Randy Andy, Prince Andrew, the man who claimed he couldn't sweat, who did an interview for Newsnight where he made a complete prat of himself, look like a saint. Your answers were beyond ludicrous. You have put yourself into the gutter. I met you, many, many years ago, as you know. I have met you on many occasions at the Carlton Tower, and on occasion you came up to me when I was with somebody very famous, and I won't go into who they were, and you pestered them. You are a great self-publicist. You are somebody who seeks out the limelight, but I won't go down that avenue because I don't think that's relevant to this conversation. But I brought it up just to remind you, because you will probably claim that I'm some stooge attacking you. So before you start, don't have a go, because I've already given you the opportunity. So, Lady Mone, Baroness Mone, why were you put into the House of Lords? Why did David Cameron put you there? What have you achieved? There are things about you that make us all question the honour and the decency of our honours system. You are somebody who has taken our honours system into the pits and beyond. But this program you made with this man called Mr. Williams Thomas, I honestly have to say, you're crying and bleating and, oh, I can't come out to the camera, I don't feel up to it. Well, why did you commission the bloody program in the first place? What is wrong with you, woman? You're completely nuts. Anyway, I will begin with the information that I think most relevant, and is, you were involved in billions of dollars of COVID PPE commissions for items. This is something that is, quite frankly, shameful. There was a £1.6 billion VIP lane. There were 493 suppliers. PPE contracts of 3.86 billion. 29% of it went into the VIP lane, according to this thing, and there were 176 contracts. But you were amongst the most important. You had £232 million of contracts in your business. Hundreds of millions of pounds disappeared in fraud. There was this Lord Fellman, there was this Laidlaw, there was the Lord Agnew. Dr. David Oliver said it's all corrupt. 10 Conservative peers got 1.6 billion of the 3.8 billion. You know, this is how bad this was. It is shameful. It's utterly disgraceful that people like you were able to profiteer whilst other people died. You know, relatives of mine died of COVID. You got hundreds of millions of pounds, a Lady Mone, and you're the one doing the moaning. Why aren't we the ones doing the moaning, condemning you, you grubby Glaswegian grifter, for stealing from all of us? You are an admitted liar. You have gone on television yesterday and said that you lied to the press. You are a shameful piece of scum, and I hope that you are punished. I knew you in times past, and you were always very arrogant. And the way you looked at me that day when you didn't get what you wanted and your face turned to thunder, my face now turns to thunder on you. You are a disgrace, and you are a reprehensible, rotten woman, and you are hated by this nation, and you don't realize what you've done. You have opened a can of worms that is bigger than Prince Andrew's stupid interview, and you thought you were being clever by taking your chubby, grubby hubby, Doug Barrowman, on the television with his shirt that didn't even fit, and you thought that that would help you get people to support you. The nation hates you even more. You are a grifting grabber who has profiteered from a pandemic, and the Led by Donkeys campaign that plastered your yacht that you claim you don't even own, even though it's called Lady M, and you posed on it in your swimwear. You don't own it, but your name is emblazoned all over it. Don't know if I believe you there, because you are a confirmed liar. So we don't need to believe you on anything you ever say, Lady Mone. Lady Mone, moan somewhere else. You are the ultimate moaner, and shame on you. But you are somebody who has insulted the people who died during this pandemic. You are somebody who lives in your little mansion in the Isle of Man, the rainy place for shady people. You are the woman who has a home here, there, and everywhere in the Caribbean, London, Belgravia, all sorts of places that you treat the public with disrespect, and then you try and blame everyone else and say they all picked upon you. You are not the victim in this story. You are the monster. You are the Medusa. You are the meddling menace. You deserve to burn in hell for what you've done to this country. You are a shameful thief and toe rag and a liar. And I stand by what I say. Go ahead and sue me, Lady Mone, because I'm not scared of you. I've been sued previously by Max Clifford, another liar and a rapist, and his dreadful dead daughter. And I'm glad she's gone as well. Another horrible pair of sexual abusers, terrible people. So I'm not scared of financial thieves like Lady Mone. You are a liar and a deceptionist, and you are disgusting, and you make me feel like vomiting, Lady Mone. So I hope, viewers, that you do now realize how much I like Lady Mone. So there we go. Right, so there we go. Richie Marriott says, hello, Mr. Steeples. Well, hello to Richie. Hello to Richie in Los Angeles. Richie is a wonderful friend of mine who is involved in the International Fund for Animal Welfare, a great charity that does a lot of good for the world. Harriet says, well said for calling out Lady Mone, basically. But anyway, hello to Richie. I do apologize if I got rather passionate in my thoughts about Lady Mone, but I don't tolerate liars, cheats, and thieves. And this woman, this wicked, vile piece of rotten scum, has no shame. And I will not be making an apology for what I just said because I stand by it. Tell her, sue me. Go ahead, Lady Mone. I want you to sue me. It would make my year. It would bring me great pleasure. You came up to me when I was having lunch with Omar Sharif, and you know what you did. And you were disgusting then, and I thought you were a weirdo back then. I'd met you on occasions before. You were always clicking your fingers at the staff. You're a bully. You treat the staff like they're SHIT. You are a nasty, horrible woman. You are a bully. And you came up to me when I was having lunch with somebody very much more famous than you and who will be much more famous than you once you're dead. No one will ever remember Lady Mone, Baroness Mone, but they will remember Omar Sharif, one of the greatest film stars ever to live. And you came up to my friend Omar Sharif and said, "Can I have a selfie?" And he didn't even have a clue who you were because why would he? He doesn't even live in England. And he said, can you see we're having lunch and we'll come back afterwards. And we did. Your face turned to thunder because you weren't the center of attention. You just thought that he would kowtow to you just because you're some bleached blonde bimbo. You are worse than the village idiot. And I hope you pay the price for what you've done to people in this country with your dreadful PPE nonsense. I hope, as my friend who I met in the Magnet today, she said to me, I hope that woman goes to jail. You are an absolutely abhorrent piece of toe rag, Michelle Mone. You are appalling. And as for you, Doug Barrowman, I hope your little trial in Spain goes well, and I hope they send you to prison there. And as one of my friends said to me, well, if he gets sent down in Spain, that will be a travesty because we won't be able to send him down in Britain. But at least he'll be sent down somewhere. So, him and his cheap suit and his dodgy little operation in the Isle of Man, disgraceful and disgusting. I want to see justice for the victims of these people, wherever they got this money from. We want this money paid back. It is jolly well time that Mr. Barrowman and Baroness Bra paid back the money they have taken from the British public. It's jolly well time that this occurred. Okay, that's all I have to say about that personally. So I'm not very happy about it, as you can clearly gather. I could go through acres and acres of things about the VIP lanes and, how this Mark Williams Thomas. Now, let's touch on him briefly before I conclude on the matter. Mr. Williams Thomas, why didn't he declare his interest in the project at an earlier stage? And why hasn't he declared his interest in the project during the project? Because in the program, he does not talk about how he was actually funded by Douglas Barrowman and the Baroness Mone, or Lady Michelle Mone, or whatever she wants to call herself. She is not called Lady Michelle Mone. She's Lady Mone. That's her real title. But she calls herself Lady Michelle Mone on Twitter. She's completely naff and tacky, but that's what you'd expect of someone as ghastly and common and grubby as her. But I can easily talk about other stories involving her, but we'll save those for another day because I think the story is far from over. So don't worry. We've got plenty more on you, Michelle. And don't try and deny that you didn't come pestering Omar Sharif and I, because that was a particularly naff episode on your part. That was pretty tacky and tawdry. And the late, great Omar Sharif was a wonderful gentleman, and you are a PPE scammer and a liar. You are an admitted liar, and the media will destroy you. And I will be there watching and supporting them because you are a very wicked woman. I don't have any more to say about that, but this man, Barrowman, is trying to put the blame on everybody else. Matt Hancock, Michael Gove, David Mellor, Esther McVeigh, Lord Bethel, Lord Feldman, Dawn Butler, It's always somebody else's fault with Doug Barrowman. But Doug, why don't you just buy yourself a new suit? It might be actually a better idea because you're not very bright. That's all you're clearly useful for. So anyway, Mr. Williams Thomas, who also previously got involved with Oscar Pistorius, the vile murderer of the poor Reva Steenkamp, a lady who was mercilessly massacred and shot in the most cruel fashion by that evil bastard Oscar Pistorius. Mr. Williams Thomas, really, it's time you developed a moral compass too and stopped pretending that you were some kind of moral crusader and admit that you actually made the program with Michelle Mone because you were paid to make a program with Michelle Mone. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you indeed. It's absolutely shocking to see how corrupt and disgraceful this whole thing has been. And I will call this out because nobody else will. So I'm here today speaking for the decent people in society who want justice for victims, not for people who make profit. So that is all I have to say on that particular topic. So we shall move along, and I should talk about something else, which could be, let me have a look, Harvey Nichols. So Harvey Nichols, I think, is in big trouble. I'm sad to say it. Harvey Nichols could be going down the plug hole. They are launching a 50% off sale, and the Daily Mail's Anne Ashworth, and Anne is a good friend of mine, she used to work for the Times, has written about how, the 50% off sale at Harvey Nichols is raising eyebrows because this is the time of year department stores normally put the prices up, not down. The clientele, she says, has no need to scrimp on gifts, but they are now having a, cheap bargain basement sale, which doesn't make sense at this time of year. So anyway, Anne Ashworth is a great writer and I think a wonderful lady. And this is something, she says, the magic's gone from the store. And I used to live at number 4 Sloane Street, right opposite Harvey Nichols. So it was my local corner shop. I know that sounds a bit ridiculous, but my corner shop wasn't a Spar or a Waitrose. My corner shop was Harvey Nichols. I lived at 4 Sloane Street, right next to the Underground, and above a money shop. And yes, I had a lift that was a disaster. And even one of our little viewers, she worked there in an office in the building below where my flat was. And they came here recently and just gave me a painting, which was very nice of them. they had a wine brokerage in the very same building. So I'm not making the story up, and I lived there between, oh gosh, it was 2002 and 2005. I had an apartment right opposite Harvey Nichols. So anytime I needed a bottle of wine, I'd go across the road, and I remember a bottle of wine in Harvey Nichols, for me, because I had a special arrangement, would be £5. You can't even buy a bottle of crap wine in Tesco here in Broadstairs for £5. But I used to get lovely Harvey Nichols house wine for £5 a bottle. And that was my wine store. And we had many a party. Even James Hewitt came to parties in my apartment. Um, we've just been reading about a story here, myself and Finn, about Mr. Hewitt. And Mr. Hewitt has been doing work in Ukraine, and he's doing good things. But no, we had a party with him. I've had many people in that apartment. Neil and Christine Hamilton, everybody came. We had my godmother got stuck in the lift, and the fire brigade had to come and collect her. But anyway, Harvey Nichols is suffering a problem, and Sir Dixon Poon, who is the owner, who's in Hong Kong, has had to close down the stores in Hong Kong. And I'm sad to hear that Harvey Nichols is suffering, because during the lockdowns, Harvey Nichols was the savior of my life. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I know it sounds very indulgent and ridiculous when most people were, trying to get a pint of milk. I discovered that Harvey Nichols charged £0 to deliver, and I was with my mother at her home in Suffolk, and I could get anything delivered from Harvey Nichols with a delivery cost not dependent on any minimum spend of £0. Obviously, we spent more than £0, because we had to spend more than £0 to get a delivery, obviously, because if we didn't spend 0.01, we wouldn't get a delivery. But I would, every week, we would have gin, we would have chocolates, and I got things delivered that kept my mother happy, and I would get some gin, and we would order whatever we could order, and they had many bargains. It was the most wonderful thing. And a friend of mine also used to send us wine once a week from a place in Ipswich, which was nowhere near my mother's house, but they didn't charge a delivery fee. But every other company, like Sainsbury's and Waitrose, they were all profiteering. But no, Harvey Nichols were very generous. I will never forget the kindness of the Harvey Nichols staff, and the people in the local village thought that we were the most overindulgent people when we would have Harvey Nichols vans coming virtually every second day. But why not? We were stuck inside. We were locked up, courtesy of the evil Prime Minister, who did nothing to support our lovely nation. And we had wonderful things from Harvey Nichols. So I do support it. But Harvey Nichols is in decline, unfortunately. So I'm very sad to hear this, because Harvey Nichols has been a huge part of my life, given it was my corner shop for all of those years. It has existed since 1831. It is a wonderful shop, and it's since opened in Leeds and other places. And I'm not interested in the clothes. The clothes department is of absolutely no consequence, but the food and drink, wonderful. And the bar, I used to spend a lot of time in when I was younger, but the bar is no longer the hedonistic place that it used to be. I'll leave it at the word hedonistic, being instead of describing the naughtiness that might have gone on in there. But it has been, sadly, a business that's now operating losses at 3.7 million. It's a very unfortunate stage. The previous year, the operating losses were 17.7 million, but they're getting rid of other brands that they own, which includes Roger Vivier, which is a shoe company. They also have a shareholding in Tod's, and I'm sitting here wearing a pair of Tod's shoes. I love my Tod's shoes, so we hope that Harvey Nichols can be restored. But I bet that somebody like Bernard Ono will buy out Harvey Nichols. We will see what happens. So, Chili Kareen always reminds me of Ab Fab. Yes, well, you see, Absolutely Fabulous was very much based around Harvey Nichols. And no, we all have to celebrate the wonderful world of Harvey Nichols. Harriet used to go to the Harvey Nichols bar. We probably chatted there. I don't know, perhaps, but generally I just went there with my friends and neighbors. But it would have been a pleasure to have met you there, Harriet, and one day we will meet, Debbie McGee. So no, that is the matter of that. I think on that note, I shall turn to my final topic for the evening, which is the fact that in the coming days, 177 associates of Jeffrey Epstein, i.e., let's be honest, associates of Ghislaine Maxwell, also will be named in the unsealing of documents in the first days of 2024. People keep asking me, why has my book about Ghislaine Maxwell been delayed? This is the very reason. Because I want to know more information. Every time I go down the rabbit hole of Ghislaine Maxwell, I find out more. Now, for many years, I've been asking, how can Ghislaine Maxwell be convicted of a sex trafficking offense when there is nobody who has received the victims she has sex trafficked to? So you cannot have a conviction for sex trafficking unless somebody received those people. So now over 170 of Jeffrey Epstein's high-profile associates will be named. Now, the articles are all very well. They are all very vague. Now, most of them are listed as J-Doe whatever, 177, 179, 184, 187, which is the final one, from number one to that. But in most of them, in most cases, it is described as this material about them should be unsealed in full. First, no interests that outweigh the presumptions of access have been identified with specificity. Second, this individual's association with Epstein and Maxwell has been widely reported in the media already, and his or her name came up at Maxwell's public criminal trial. So this document clearly links Ghislaine Maxwell with the sexual offences against, for example, J.Doe 143. J.Doe 143 is not alone in having her name linked to both Epstein and Maxwell. This individual was also named as a defendant in a public federal lawsuit involving the same conduct underlying this action. So this poor lady, we assume it's a lady, because I do believe that Jeffrey Epstein had male victims. I don't believe Ghislaine Maxwell had male victims, but I do believe that Jeffrey Epstein was a man who believed in anything goes. He could have had anything. So Jane Doe could be a man or a woman, but in most of these instances, it's purely about Epstein that they reference this, and there are nearly, how many pages in this document? There are, sorry, I'm totally useless with computer systems, and right, there are over 51 pages of victims. And there are 187 victims, some of whom are linked purely to Jeffrey Epstein, and some of whom are linked to Epstein and Maxwell. Now, Mucky Madam Maxwell is trying to be appealing. She's trying much more. Several of the victims are mentioned in the context of Prince Andrew also. JDO 162, for example. And some of the victims are mentioned in the context of an English victim who is a personal friend of mine. And there are links to various articles. It is a very, very interesting document, and I shall be analysing it fully in due course. But scrolling through it, this has been hell for all of these 187 victims of these people. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of abuse of nowhere near 187 victims. I think it was 7 victims. And that is, quite frankly, a travesty. So let's bring her to retrial. Let's have her tried for the rest of these victims. That would be useful. For example, JDO 120. This individual's name and association with Epstein and Maxwell has widely been publicized by the media, and this individual has been named as a defendant in public lawsuits relating to Epstein. So JDO 120 is an example of somebody who has a case. And I think we all know who that particular person is. We have the case of a certain lady who Prince Andrew paid money to, who he claimed he couldn't remember meeting, but he was happy to give £12 million to. So, there's one example of such a person. So this is an absolutely ridiculous set of affairs. JDO number 99. This material should be unsealed in full. First, this individual did not raise any objection to unsealing and thus did not meet his or her burden of identifying his or her, you see, precisely, because I think Epstein had male victims too, of identifying interests that outweigh the presumption of access with specificity. Second, this individual's name and association with Epstein and Maxwell has been widely publicized by the media. This individual has been named as a defendant in public lawsuits relating to Epstein, and the Second Circuit unsealed substantial material relating to this individual. That's JDO 099. So, every document here is met with a ruling. And I do think it is jolly well time that the public were told who the victims were trafficked to. Now, obviously, the housekeeper of Epstein, who is a bit of a gobby sort, he and his wife, the Caribbean housekeepers from the island, Pedo Island, Little St. James's and Great St. James's, they will be brought out in this. There is Jean-Luc Brunel, who is, of course, dead because he hanged himself in a Paris prison cell whilst awaiting trial on a whole range of sex charges. But Miles and Kathy Alexander, the South African couple who were the housekeepers who clearly turned a blind eye to what went on these islands, They're happy to give interviews and talk to the paper for money, so drag them into court. Put those people in the dock and make them tell the truth about what they saw. Judge Preska, who spoke to cited a 2011 interview the couple gave to the Daily Mail as one of the reasons why they should be named. In the interview, the couple claimed it was not their place to judge other people, even though they suspected some of the girls on the island were young. Kathy described how the Duke of York arrived with a blonde brain surgeon in her 30s and that he urinated on her foot when she trod on the sea urchin. Disgusting. This woman, Kathy, put her before the court. Let's see what she's got to say. She happily took the money. Let's see if she could now be honest. This is the problem with these people. People who tell lies, they do get caught. It is disgraceful, and it is jolly well time that people of this type were brought to justice. You know, this is disgraceful. I would like to know whether a certain hedge fund couple, for example, let's have them named. Let's see what happens when them. One of them was the former lover of Jeffrey Epstein, and her husband very involved. What about Mr. Staley, the former chief executive of Barclays Bank, and also JP Morgan? What about him? He refers to Snow White in his emails to Jeffrey Epstein. And Snow White certainly was not cocaine. I think it was probably something else. And him and his wife, who was Jeffrey Epstein's lover, quite happily, and Jeffrey Epstein was the godfather of his children. Let's see how this pans out. Let's bring this lot to justice. Let's name all of those names that went on the wicked Lolita Express plane. Let's name the Clintons. Let's name the Trumps. Let's name Melania. Melania, I do believe, met Jeffrey Epstein before she met Donald Trump. Sue me, Melania. I'd love you to. It'd be giving me great pleasure to go to court with you, Melania. You are nothing special, and you are definitely somebody who has questions to answer, because I do believe that most of the people who were involved, and I'm not suggesting Melania was involved in this, but many of the people who were involved were the people that brought in other people. And Ghislaine brought in other people because Ghislaine was so sick of him taking advantage of her, and that is why she brought others in. That is what Ghislaine's motivation, I believe, to be all about. Ghislaine was a wicked, evil woman, but she was a wicked, evil woman who had been abused by her own father, and that's a terrible thing. But it does not excuse her wicked, evil behavior. And as for the Duke of York and Fergie, who just wanted the money, Fergie only cared about the money. Anyway, I won't go on further about any of that. But that is the story of that wicked collection of people. So, Mark Williams Thomas, we're done with him, and we're done with all of that. And meanwhile, I think it is time we do our little quiz. So, Finn is here, but Finn has been very quiet. I will start to prepare for this quiz, if you would like me to do this quiz. Fiona from the Magnet is in the chat. There we go. Fiona from the Magnet. Nicole says, is Finn still there, basically? Yes, say hello to Nicole Finn.
Hello, Nicole.
There we are. Right, so Nicola Crompton says there are many famous names in the Little Black Book. Well, as I've said before, this book is nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. This book, and I have the book, the entire book, I had it years before anybody else. This book was, most of the people I know who are in this book knew Ghislaine Maxwell. They did not know Jeffrey Epstein. The book is a complete bag of bilge. It's a complete fantasy. It's out of date beyond belief. It's years and years old because most of the phone codes were out of date. So it's not actually that an important document. But we did have people like the convicted criminal fraudster Bernie Eccleston in it. But he only ever knew Ghislaine. He did not know Jeffrey Epstein. These people did not know Epstein. They were associates of Ghislaine Maxwell. The book was Ghislaine Maxwell's book, and Ghislaine introduced this taxi driver who became a teacher, who became a blackmailer after he had an affair with a man who I won't name, very powerful man who gave him a very nice house. You can work out the links. He ended up living in $100 million house. It wasn't worth $100 million when it was sold because of the tainted association with that piece of tow wreck. But he was an intelligent man, Epstein. Epstein was a mathematical genius. Every single person I know who encountered him said the man had a brilliant brain. They did not say they liked him. They thought he was reprehensible and repugnant. Of course, they're going to say that now. Of course, when he was alive, they probably didn't say that. They probably loved him because most of them probably were toady, creepy people who thought, well, we'll hang around with whoever's rich, especially the man who wrote the song about him. In fact, I shall find you the very song right now, which Ghislaine commissioned. I think you might need a bit of this. It's absolutely shocking. Epstein. Mason. Yes, right. Right. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, no, I've got to find its article here. Sorry, I do apologize for the delay. Right. I've written so many articles about Ghislaine Maxwell. Oh, here we are. Right. This could be the one, perhaps. It's got a picture of the person that wrote it. Not that one. I do apologize. I will be coming back shortly. Oh, here we are. So, this is what a man called Christopher Mason, English, wrote for Ghislaine for Jeffrey Epstein's 40th birthday. Can you imagine Jeffrey Epstein being 40? I'll be 43 myself on the 27th of January. So this man is now dead. He's brown bread. This was in January 19 and 1993. She asked him to write a cappella, she called it. Poor Jeffrey Epstein is 40, Ove. Life must be tough, his hair is already so grey. He sure looks older, but it's clear from his smile. The older he gets, the more juvenile. This is totally sickening, and this was prior to his conviction in the early 2000s for what he did the first time. So please don't be offended. The older he gets, the more juvenile. Ghislaine is lavishing him with her affections. She claims he has 24-hour erections. This is revolting. Sounds like he's busy now, ain't that berserk? How does he find the time to get off work? He wakes when the cock crows whilst everyone slumbers. He rivals Einstein when crunching those numbers. He taught at Dalton, that's when he was a school teacher. The naughty boy blushes to think of school girls and all of their crushes. That was written by a man called Christopher Mason, who also hung around with Donald Trump. And Mr. Mason is one of those kind of people who, quite frankly, well, something doesn't quite add up, does it? Wow Bagger here says, is this a porn channel? Nicole says, what a great birthday gift for him. Bambi says, yuck. But you see, if we don't share this kind of horror with the world, people won't know how horrific these people truly were. I have spent years researching this, and I don't know why I felt the need to share that with you right now, but it is reprehensible, it's rotten, and it's wrong. I hope you would agree. So now Harriet would like a quiz to move along. Nicola Crompton says it makes me sick to the core. There we go. Wow Bagger says it's disgusting. Busted says it's awful. It would be quite funny if it hadn't turned out to be true, says Anna Perkins. Well, sadly, I know the real truth of this whole story, and it is truly revolting. So I'm very sorry. But, you know, if you don't hear the truth, and we should hear the truth about the 187 victims that are supposedly going to be named, out of which I think 170 of them will be named. So that leaves a fair percentage that won't be named. We should know these details. So anyway, we'll move along and we will do our quiz, because I think it's time. We can't do anything about this today, but we can do something about it tomorrow. So, right, we'll have a quiz. Right, question number 1. In nature, what is the largest known mammal? The winner is Jason Warner with Blue Whale. Meanwhile, somebody asks, how do I stay sane? I don't think I am sane, but I've met people who've been through good and bad in life, and I'm very lucky to spend time with wonderful people who've been survivors and people who have thrived. I think the mixture is an absolutely wonderful thing. Right, question number 2. Which A is the name given to a book of maps? Right. The winner is Daniel Wildgoose with Atlas. Well done to Daniel Wildgoose. Daniel Wildgoose gets the point. Thank you, Daniel Wildgoose. In food, is sunflower oil a saturated or unsaturated fat? I couldn't answer that question myself. I would be the weakest link. I would be told goodbye. The winner is Anna Perkins with unsaturated. It is not saturated, it is unsaturated. So thank you to Anna Perkins. Right. Question number 4. In the Muppet Show, what kind of animal is Kermit? A very easy question. Bambi Debonair wins with frog. Well done to Bambi Debonair. McLaren, Ferrari, and Jordan are all teams in which sport? And don't please bring in Bernard Eccleston, the convicted criminal fraudster. Thank you very much. The winner is Jason Warner with Formula One. Well done to Jason Warner. In literature, what was Dr. Dolittle's unusual talent? What could Dr. Dolittle do that other people couldn't? And Montecute wins when he talked to the animals. Well done to Montecute. And here we go. Which former Neighbours star had a hit single with Robbie Williams with the song Kids? And, I have to say the pint star-sized pop star, a lovely lady, one of the nicest people, and her lovely family are mother and father. I'm not quite sure about her sister, but she's pretty cool. Anyway, my mother has strong opinions also. There we go. What do we think? So the answer is not Jason Donovan, but Jason Warner gets it with Kylie Minogue. So well done to Jason Warner. It was Jason and Kylie, but no, it was Kylie Minogue. But you got it with Jason Warner. So perhaps you're destined for the next date with Kylie Minogue, given she split up with her most recent lover. There we go. Question 8. Which M is the planet nearest to the sun? Which M? Now I have to scroll down. The winner is Bambi Debonair with Mercury. Well done to Bambi Debonair. In geography, in which country is the Taj Mahal? All right. Lots of you are getting it correct with the word India, but the very first of you to get it is Nicola Moffat. I think Nicola Moffat gets the point with India. Well done to Nicola Moffat. Which insect does silk come from? And it's not Bradford Simon Coates. It's not Cilla Black, no. The first of you to answer correctly is Jason Warner with silkworm. Jason Warner gets the point. Well done to Jason Warner. What is the name from the Hindi language given to a one-story house? Simon Coates gets the point with bungalow. Well done to Simon Coates. On the TV show Bodger and Badger, I remember watching this as a child. I don't know why. I don't remember if I liked it or not. What is the Badger's favourite food? And it wasn't Anthea Turner, no. It wasn't Bungle Beer. Paulie gets the point with mashed potatoes. Paulie gets the point. Well done to Paulie. Which Spice Girl had a hit with Bryan Adams in 1998? She has different names. Conrad Wilson gets the point with Mel C. Well done to Conrad Wilson. Well done to Conrad Wilson. Which guy plotted to blow up the Houses of Parliament in 1605? We need the full name. The full name of the guy. Bambi Debonair gets it yet again with Guy Fawkes. Right. Which sport is Tiger Woods famous for? Um, well, Jason Warner gets it yet again. Golf. Jason Warner, you're very, 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 very quick. You're the fastest finger first. Very, very quick. I don't know what our Harriet has to make of you. In science, which M is a piece of equipment used to magnify tiny objects? Simon Coates wins with a microscope. Thank you to Simon Coates for your correct answer. Your penultimate question. Which country does Parmesan cheese come from? Jason Warner gets the point yet again with Italy. Well done to Jason Warner. Which A describes a severe case of spots on the skin? A thing that most teenagers tend to get. Bambi Debonair wins with acne, and it's not Anthea Turner, no. We don't get Anthea Turner on our skin, but she may swing into action underneath it. But anyway, the answer was acne. There we go. So do we have a winner chicken dinner? Do we have a winner in the house? Is there a strongest link, or is there just a bunch of imbeciles hanging around waiting to be thrown out with the rubbish? There we go. I don't know. Sandy D's Nuts says, am I banned? Well, if you were banned, you wouldn't be able to leave a comment, would you, Sandy D's Nuts? So clearly you are not banned. Chili Careens is on to dinner. Oh. Do we have a winner, Harriet? I don't know if we do. Jason says Anthea Turner is always the real winner. Oh. Bambi says, I think it's a tie. I have no idea because I just read out the questions. I don't do the tossing up. So I don't know what happened to our quiz monitor. Maybe she disappeared. Oh. I do think that Jason was quite possibly the winner, but I cannot confirm or deny. But our quiz mistress seems to have deserted us or maybe been thrown out. Oh, well, on this basis, I shall declare that Jason is the winner. What else can I do? And he would like to dedicate this award to Anthea Turner, he says. So on this occasion, we will say we don't know who the real winner was because we don't quite know, but I do believe it to be Jason Warner, and he says, I would like to dedicate this award to Anthea Turner. Well, he definitely swung into action and helped dear old Anth. So, Harriet is back. She says, Nicole, can you see me? Well, Harriet, we can see you. Everybody else can see you too. But I think we know that Jason has won, yes. But thank you for your efforts, Harriet. Very kind of you. And we don't know why you've been cut out, but there we are. That's the way of the world of YouTube, the world of quizzing. So happy quizzing to you all, and I will say to you all, given that this is all over, we've been going for 1 hour and 9 minutes. My goodness, rather a lot for me. We normally stop at 1 hour. So I will say good night, frankly, good gardening, and as the late, great Gildando once said, don't have nightmares. Take care Sleep well. Good night. Thank you very much. Take care.